Hi everyone, Annette Kessler here with a new video tutorial especially for summer. So we are going to create a really special summer vacation beach theme mini album with the flip-flop. Yes we do. It's going to be really fun. So take you just an ordinary flip-flop and put it on a white piece of plain paper. Don't put it all the way to the edge. Leave a little bit of space from the edge and then trace around it with a pencil. Just go all around the flip-flop with your pencil. This is going to be the shape of the mini album. Now what we're going to do is create a spine 3.5 inches long. So just mark those two little lines. It's really hard to see, so I'm just going to go over the lines again to make sure that you can see clearly. So this line goes all the way to the edge of the bottom spine, and the other one is to the top spine, and this where the little X's are, this we're going to ignore. Okay, so this is the basic shape of our pages. Now what 5 pages for my mini album. So we take the first page, we fold it in half, and then we are going to create, you have to use a bone folder here. This mini album needs a bone folder. And then we are going to trace our flip-flop onto the paper. So first cut out your flip-flop pattern with some scissors. And this is what it should look like. You see that little rectangle there? This is the spine. It should be 1/8 of an inch wide. Okay, not more. You don't need any more. 1/8 of an inch little rectangle, and also make sure that it is straight because we need that for the binding of the mini album. So I'm making sure it's 1/8 of an inch wide, and then you align that straight edge of the spine with the fold of the paper. Make sure that the side of the paper that you want to see, that you want to be visible, will be on the inside. Okay? And then you align your flip-flop with the paper and trace around with the pencil. Make sure that the straight edge of the flip-flop on the left side is aligned perfectly with the fold. Go around. Make sure that this is a really busy pattern. I hope I can see the pencil line that I just drew. And then you cut around with your scissors. Now you are cutting the paper while it is still folded. I'm just putting the flip-flop back on because I can't see the pencil marks that I made. So I just want to make sure that I'm cutting in the right place. So once you finish cutting, you should have this. See? You have 2 pages with a spine in the center. This is a spine here. And now we need to make 2 fold lines. Now remember that you already have that fold line in the center, and that's going to make it a little difficult for you because there's not enough room in there. So take your bone folder and create 2 fold lines on both sides of the spine, and then it's going to be kind of difficult to fold it because the paper wants to go to the center where there's already a fold line. So just use your bone folder to fold the lines, and then you can see there's a little margin that is left on both sides when you fold it. That means that the fold is correct. So basically what you should be looking at is this. See that spine there? This is going to give us a lot of room to put really cool things inside the mini album. So both flip-flops are folded together with the spine in the center. So I've made 5 of these. These are going to be the 5 pages of the mini album, and see, each one of them has a spine that gives us a lot of room. So what you need now is just a piece of cardstock that is 3.5 inch long by 3 or 3.5 inch wide. Doesn't matter how wide it is, as long as it's the same length as the spine, which is 3.5 inches. Now what we're going to do is bind the mini album. This is not straight. Okay, so what we're going to do is take the first, you make sure that all the flip-flops are in the order that you want. You put a little bit of glue, liquid glue, on the spine. Just make sure that you're putting it not exactly in the center but slightly to the left, so you'll have enough room for the other flip-flops. And then align the spine with the square. Just burnish it well with your bone folder on the folds as well. Make sure it's straight. Do the same thing on the other side and burnish it with your bone folder. And now the first page is glued down. Now for the second page we're going to do the same, but we're going to glue it to the first page. So the outside left of the flip-flop on this side is going to be glued to the right, to the outside right of the first flip-flop. Hope that makes sense. So we're gonna glue them back to back like this. Okay, now I hope it's clearer. And then put some glue, of course, on the spine like we did with the first flip-flop, and make sure it's glued properly to the little square that we're binding the mini album with. So now we have 2 pages. Don't stress about that because we're going to fold this over later, so that doesn't really matter. This is going to go like this, so we're going to glue it down there anyway. So see how it looks on the side, how much room we're going to have. So 1 and 2. Now for page number 3, just do the same, repeat the process with all the other flip-flops, creating a sandwich, or basically not a sandwich exactly, but back to back with the flip-flops and the spine on the square. Make sure to keep the order that you wanted with the colors and the patterns, because once you glue everything down you can change it. Not that it's the end of the world if the colors don't exactly are in the same order that you wanted, but kind of annoying. So just make sure. So this is the last one. Don't forget glue on the spine, and then you're done. Now you need to fold both edges of the square on the first flip-flop and the last flip-flop, and this is what's going to form the binding, or the last step of the binding. So just add the glue on both sides of the square, and then glue it to the first flip-flop. Always good to burnish it with a bone folder, and then the other side to the last flip-flop. And basically you have a mini album. Isn't that cool? I think it's the coolest thing. And look how much room we have to put cool stuff in it, pockets and things for later on, right? I'm just making sure that all the spines are perfectly glued to the square with my bone folder. Okay, look at that. Isn't it great? Okay, So now we can go ahead and create the cover. Now because this is not a usual, first let's get rid of this. We don't need this anymore. So we have a perfect flip-flop pattern. Because this is not a regular shape like a square, I'm using a very thin chipboard, because what I would have to do is do the same thing I did with the paper, and that trace the flip-flop pattern and then cut it with scissors. And if you're using a thick chipboard, you cannot cut this with scissors. And you don't need a thick chipboard. A really thin one will just work just as well. Now if you're really good with using a knife and you want to use a thick chipboard and try to cut it with a knife, then you can go ahead, but I wouldn't bother. You really don't need to. So I'm actually using the backing of scrapbook collections that I had. Like the first or the last page are usually thicker. So this is what I've used. So I'm tracing both flip-flops, and you can see that I've put them one next to the other. We need one for each direction. Don't forget, these are flip-flops. One goes on the right foot and one goes on the left foot, right? So these are two different directions. So you need to trace the paper exactly like that, because you have the first flip-flop of the mini album is the left leg and the last one is the right leg. I hope that made sense, but you're gonna see in a minute what I mean. You see, put the left one first, or the right one, it doesn't really matter. Trace the paper and do the same thing as you did with the chipboard and just glue them together, and then do the same thing with the other one. So this is going to be our cover, the front and back cover. Now once the cover is ready, we can go ahead and attach it to our mini album. So this one is the right foot, right? And we are attaching it to the last flip-flop at the end. And that will also hide the binding mechanism, and everything will look really pretty. Burnish everything, no bubbles. And then the other one will go in the front, which is the left leg. Make sense? I hope it does. Okay, so this one goes on the front, and then we're gonna embellish the cover later. But this is our mini album. It's so cool, right? So now even less, I would say 1/4 of an inch, and then you would glue them together on the top and then twist them, each of them, to look like a flip-flop, and attach them on two sides on the bottom like this. Oops, you would have to hold it a little bit until it's dry, otherwise it will move. So once that's dry, you can add all kinds of fun embellishments to the cover. Make sure you layer them and you add foam tape for more dimension. And I've added some flowers too. So I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you liked it. Don't forget to click on the little bell icon to be notified when I upload a new video. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.